Hi, my name is Toby Stark, and I work to prevent child sexual abuse predominantly in amateur youth sports by providing trainings and working on policies and procedures. But more importantly, 10 years ago or so, when Cassie had the vision to bring prevention to Boone County, I had the honor of working with her to do that, and that relationship still continues with the Indiana Center for the Prevention of Abuse and Suicide.
Thank you. What have you seen in the last year in terms of prevention and how receptive people are to that?
Right. Well, in terms of prevention over the past year with COVID, we're seeing very little of it. Child sexual abuse and child sexual abuse prevention is difficult to talk about under the best of circumstances. And this year was far from the best of circumstances. So what we've seen is that, these families, the parents and these teachers who are families and the youth workers who are also part of families, they've been really focusing on the crisis or the challenge at hand. I mean, most people were in survival mode. And so there really wasn't much left to focus on child sexual abuse prevention. And that's actually going to be our challenge as our communities start opening up, is to make sure that we're really intentional about those conversations and bring the prevention conversations back into our families, back into our friends circle, our communities, our youth groups, our sports teams, because it won't happen naturally. So we've got to be really intentional and determined about it.
Yes. What are some ways that we can protect our children, especially going into the spring, summer month and sports starting back up and all the things? And everybody is so ready to get back out there after being quarantined for a year. What are some ways that we can remember that we protect them?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I would say there's two main things that parents, guardians, foster parents could be doing to protect their kids' abuse prevention. One is ask questions, and two is talk to their kiddos. And I'll be referring to, because it's April Child Abuse Prevention Month, we've been putting together various trainings. So the trainings that I'm about to talk about are the links are in the comments section. But, I bet there's not a single parent or guardian or foster parent out there, as our kids are starting to reintegrate, who won't have any problem asking, are masks mandatory or advised? Has the staff been vaccinated or not? Even what time is snack being served? These are questions that I think just about every parent is very comfortable asking. But I remember when my kids were little ones and I had to shift the conversation over to their youth protection policies and procedures, specifically the abuse prevention policies and procedures. It can get really uncomfortable. And the fact of the matter is, we're the adults. And our discomfort, and I say that in solidarity and I say that in understanding, because I don't know that I ever got comfortable with the conversation, but our discomfort does not matter. And so while we're asking the important questions about masks and vaccines and so on and so forth, we also have to keep our eye on the abuse prevention ball. And parents need to be asking about one-on-one policies, which is interactions that are not visible, not interruptible. 80% of child sexual abuse happens in one-on-one situations. So parents need to be asking about that. They need to be asking, are organizations doing things more than background checks in their hiring? These are all really important questions. And there is a training that has already been done, and the link is in the comment sections, that really breaks out 5 key questions that parents must ask any of the sports teams and youth organization that their kids are participating in. And the second thing is talking to their kids about body safety. And that's another one where the discomfort we feel as adults is far more than the discomfort that kids feel. I mean, this is not having that conversation is really our issue as an adult. But we need to be talking to kids of all ages on an ongoing basis that their bodies belong to them. They are absolutely allowed to stop any touches that make them uncomfortable or icky. Abuse is never their fault, and to tell a safe adult. And there is actually a program coming up on Thursday, April 15th, I'm doing in partnership with the Cass County CASA and their abuse prevention community. And I'm going to work with parents and help them break down the conversation, the age-appropriate language, because this is a conversation that's relevant at 6, at 16, and, you know, I'd even push to say at 26 and so on. So I encourage parents to please step out of their discomfort and ask the right questions and have the conversations they need to be having.
That's great. Ms. Stark, this last year, a lot of us have sat at home and watched Netflix and watched a million documentaries, and some were good and some not so good. But there was a theme a lot to the documentaries this year. The USA Gymnastics, Athlete A, things like that were in the news a lot. So what are some of the most valuable lessons we've learned over the last few years in regards to these bigger cases?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I really, because here's what's going on. These lessons are standing in front of us, and they're shouting, and they're waving their arms frantically, and they're shouting some more, and we're not paying attention. We're giving those lessons like the side eye, you know, like we know they're there, but we're not really going to acknowledge that those lessons are there. And that is dangerous. But not only do we have these large lessons like USA Gymnastics or Jerry Sandusky and Penn State, you know, we have examples in our backyard that we are seeing on the news probably on a weekly basis. This coach, that teacher, that neighbor, this parent, step parent. We see this happening in our communities, but we still have a hard time getting our head around the fact that this isn't somebody else's problem. This is our problem. And, you know, the reasons why I continue to hear people say this isn't something that affects our community, our sports team, our religious institution, I still hear that. And the answer that's always related to that is because of their reputation, because of how much they have devoted, because of how highly they are thought of, because of their wealth. And, you know, when the statistics are, and this is going to be a little startling, but 1 in 10 children are sexually abused by their 18th birthday. And 90% of those kids are abused by someone they know, love, and trust. And so when those statistics are our reality, we don't have the statistical luxury of making the presumption that these things do not impact our community. And listen, I know that it's hard and almost painful to get our head around those statistics, that we and our children could be interacting with people who mean harm to children. But those are the facts. That's no one's opinion. And so I think the biggest lesson is if we as a society and a community would stop giving those lessons the side eye, you know, and knowing that they're there, but pretending like we're not going to pay attention, and just turn your head and look them in the eye, and let's do the things that we need to do. It's painful and it's uncomfortable, but we have to do it.
We do. Thank you very much. To tell this community how they can help your particular offices or your particular cause.
If I may, but I will still be cognizant of our time limit. The first thing is I hope that the adults, the parents, the guardians, the caregivers that are in the audience and that are watching will take advantage of the educational resources being offered to them on child sexual abuse prevention and response. Because look, we don't know what we don't know. And in the comments section, there's going to be several links for trainings, for information, for education. And let's get that conversation going again. Let's turn up the volume and avail ourselves of the resources. But I also want to, if I may, take this conversation out of the theoretical. You know, we've all sort of been talking about children and families and parents. And I suspect that many of us in this room and many of us watching on YouTube have felt the pain of not having a voice, not being heard, have felt the pain of feeling like something is wrong with them, that they are broken, that things are their fault. And that sucks, and that sucks for a long time. And here's the simplicity of it all. It does not have to be that way. We, as the adults, truly have the power and can gain the skills to make sure that that's not happening to our kids. And it doesn't matter. It could be a small thing, it could be a big thing, but if everybody does a little something, then it becomes a big something. We're doing it together, and then it becomes everything. So that's what I'd like to leave with folks.
Thank you.